Here's the deck. My neighbor, her homeowner's insurance told her if she didn't put a railing on this, they were going to turn off her policy. And I have decided that I was going to do this for her. I'm trying to do it as cheap as possible because, she doesn't have money. So there, my railing spindles there, or some of them. I got these 2x4s, 10 feet each, and for the tops and the rails and the support and blah, blah, blah. But these spindles are going to make up the overwhelming majority of the railing. And I was going to do a fancy design, but it was just going to get, in terms of the way I laid out the spindles around the deck, but I'm just going to space them as far as I can so I can use as few as possible so this is absolutely as cheap as possible. When I started, this deck was like totally green. The wood was old and green. The sun hardly ever shines on this side of the house. It'll shine over here on this fence where you see I've got the spindles drying. But here where the deck is, it hardly ever gets sun. And it was never treated, and they stopped obviously in the middle. The first thing I had to do with this deck is power wash it, and I'm not going to polish it because that would take forever, and I already put these little step strips down because it gets so green when it's wet. It's a death trap walking up and down these steps for her dogs, for me, for her. So anyway, I power washed the deck, and at least it's not green and nasty anymore, but it is ratty because we need each side at least. Ideally, all this would be fresh so that each side jives with the other, but I think that's aspiring for far too much. But each individual side in and of itself needs to be somewhat level so that each spindle on each side will be somewhat level with each self, like, because these are going to go on like this all the way down in like 3.5 inch increments starting, well, there too, but all the way around the whole thing. And which is why I either had to add or subtract this, because obviously they wouldn't lay the same. This whole side will have like a singular level surface to spindle, and you'll see this one down here already has it because it has this. It has, it comes around flat on here just like this, but instead of having all these unlevel tops here, it has the singular side of this piece of wood here, which makes it flat and somewhat level. And it's not ideal. You can see there's some warping, and it's not level. It's not even close. So there's going to be some less than ideal areas. But to do this right, I'd have to replace a lot, and this would be way more. And when I say way more costly, I mean just in parts, because I'm doing this for free. But the parts alone, lumber's really expensive. And while I've built decks and done this a lot, it's probably been 25 years since I fucked around with a deck or railings or anything like that. So I'm going mostly off a video I watched on YouTube, and I'll credit that in the comments and probably with a graphic on the screen. But I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do with the steps yet, or how that's going to play out. She's trying to say she doesn't want anything done, but she can't get up and down them, and that's an issue. So I'll take a look with spindles and see what I can't make happen. But this is going to be a little bit awkward. All right. Here's the before. No railing. There's the first railings I got up yesterday. The wood, everything needed to dry for a long time. But it's ready to go now. You can see them from the outside here. I got this piece all prepped. This is the piece that's going to fit in right here. It's cut exactly. It's got screws pre-drilled, so all I got to do is hold it up and drill it in, and hope that it's somewhere in the neighborhood of close to level with that. But either way, we're going with it. And I got all my neck spindles pre-screwed and drilled so that there's my spacer, my 3.5 inch spacer, my morning coffee. And we're going to bring these all the way around today to here. So that's one day. Here we are a little further along. The 2x4 laying on the ground there, it'll come up to the top and it'll level off, and then from the back side all the spindles, I'll screw all the spindles into this and it'll bring them all together and tight. You can see there where I added the piece that was missing down below. All the way to the wall, we got our little railing around. Whew, it's hot. Alright, so I ran out of spindles. So the woman that I'm doing this for is out getting more spindles now, along with a pizza. So I'm about to have me some pizza and some spindles, and I'll continue along there. And then the rest, I'll do a railing down this side, along this side, and I'm going to adjust this railing significantly as well. And we'll see where that gets us. But there's our progress so far. I might put another one in this corner. I'm still debating that. See how many if I have any left at the end that I don't have any other use for. And there's our spindle railing. About a little more than halfway done. Because the railings are going to be a bitch. The upper railings and all that is going to be a pain in the ass. We'll see how it goes. Bye. But one of the other real time-consuming jobs that I had to do today, if you look at the top of all the spindles, I had to take this step stool here all the way around. What I did is first is I went around and I drilled the 2 holes in the top all the way around. I just decided to add this one. I think I mentioned that I hadn't decided if I was going to add this one. I did in fact add it, so that's why I didn't have any screws up there. And then and I continued, drilled the 2 holes all the way around, and then I came back to here with screws and drilled the 2 screws in all the way around, save for a couple. I'm almost out of screws. And now what's left, and I still got a little bit to do here. I got to change where this handrail is, and I'm going to do something looking like a handrail here, and maybe right there too. I haven't decided yet. I'll see what I have left once I fuck around with the. So the 2x4, this one specifically, will come up and it'll sit in this corner right here. And this will screw into the end of it, and then all these will screw into it along the top, all along, and it'll even everything up and tighten it up, and that'll come all the way down to here, where again this one here will screw into it at this end when it's all done, and it's going to be in 2 pieces. And then the same thing here, we'll run one from right there all the way down until it meets with the 2x4 in this corner. And the same thing here, along stuff. We'll run one right along the top here. And this is the worst, most warped area, as you can see, of the porch. So you can see how they kind of bow out. But what'll happen is once I run a board, the 2x4 along the top here, these here will each tighten into the 2x4 as well and pull them to something closer to level. And same thing here, I'll run 1, 2, 3, and it'll screw in to the 2x4 in this corner in each of these 3, and hopefully pull it in some, although because there's no end to this one, I think how much it gets pulled in is going to be somewhat limited. I'll be curious to see how that ends up. but you can see how it kind of, they're bowed in because of that gap. So that's where I am at the end of today. It rained a lot today, which, you know, in a perfect world, if it didn't rain, I could have been done with this by the end of today. But between the rain and my lack of inclination to do that, here we are. But once we put the 2x4s all the way along the tops to kind of pull it all together and even it and tighten it, what I'll do then is I'll put another 2x4 laying along the top of it, which will act as like a rail where you can sit and drink or whatever, and that'll too will go all the way around the top. Just a 2x4 sitting on a 2x4, and that'll, you know, it'll go to here, and that'll function as like a armrest drink holder. Here's the finished product. You can see each of the spindles have the double 2x4 support, and then the handrail along the top. This is the new one that I had to put in around the framing. You can see it's sturdy. It's not going anywhere. It's real solid. A little butterfly. Moth. Next to a fly. We can remove it, and when we need a shelf, there it is. I was able to, the insurance company was going to not give her homeowners because she didn't have a railing on this, and she didn't have a lot of money, so the point was to try to do this so that it would A, satisfy the insurance company, and B, not break the old lady. I was able to do all this, all the different parts, which in this case means all the spindles, of which there were more than 50 total, I think about 60, several 2x4s, and a single 2x6, which is for right there, match up with the other framing wood. And for all of it, the other part of the 2x6 is right here is the shelf. But for all of it, the spindles, the 2x4s, the 2x6s, and all the wood, and oh, and so like 6 boxes of fucking screws, way under $200. So I was able to put this railing up for her, and there was no cost associated with me. My labor was free, so the only cost associated with this was the parts, which was way under $200. Hi, Jasper. You're a good boy. Say hi to the camera, good boy. My good boy. Come on, let's go outside. Here it is from the outside, totally done. Now this piece is going away, it's not going to stay there. What happened here is I couldn't get a 2x4 longer than 10 foot in length. So I had to do this front in 2 lengths, a 10 footer which stops right here, and then another piece I had to cut to fill in here. And to bridge the gap, what I did is I put this here on the back just to hold the 2x4s where they meet together and level. Just long enough for me to do some work on the other side, put some screws and stuff in to hold these level without this being present, and I just haven't taken this off. So this will ultimately come off because I know that looks like shit. I just forgot to take it off. It was just temporary as a brace till I could get the work done on the other side, which has since happened. About 2 days worth of work, less than $200 in parts. saved this lady her homeowner's insurance, and if somebody would have come out and bid this and done this, they'd have charged her more than $700 and done a more advanced job. Not, because she wasn't really interested in pretty or fancy. She just wanted to meet the criteria of the insurance company for as cheap as possible. And a lot of like carpenters and deck builders, they don't want to do cheap as possible. But I got no gripe with cheap as possible at all.